So the wedding is just a few short days away now, and over the past couple weeks, even the past month, I've been trying to figure out what I'm going to take with me, what maybe I'm going to leave behind, especially furniture-wise. I don't need to take my bed because Austin and I have a bed, and we even have a twin-size bed at the house, so I don't need to take that. I don't need the nightstand. There's certain things like that. I'm not sure about the shelf behind me and my bookshelf that's over here out of frame. I'd like to take at least one of those, but I'm not sure both of them will fit, and Mom could probably use one anyway since this is going to be her office. But as I've been going through things, I went through a lot of stuff that was under my bed. And under my bed, I've just got bins of stuff, and most of it is just sentimental stuff that I've kept up with, cards, all kinds of things like that I've had for years and years. So I thought it might be a fun thing to do, a fun video to make, to show you just, not all of them, but a few of the items that I've held on to over the years and why I like them and why I think they're important. The first thing is this quilt. So I actually made this quilt when I took a class at the folk school, and not the prettiest quilt that you're ever going to see, but I really enjoyed taking this class and learning how to do this. I had wanted to learn how to sew, or at least sew something, for a long time, and taking this class was super fun. And a lot of these scraps that are in this were scraps that I had forever and that Mom had. I don't even really know where most of them come from, and it was really fun. It's not a super big quilt by any means, as you can see, but it looks nice over the back of a couch or at the end of a bed, and it was so fun to make. I would love to do this again, love to sew some more, but of course it's hard to find the time. Another thing is this Red Man box, and you're probably like, why do you have a Red Man box? But Dad does dip and chew tobacco. He has for years, and we've got more than one of these Red Man boxes, and I just like them because we've had them forever, and I don't know, it kind of makes me think of him, and you can't have that, silly. And that's Olive down here out of frame trying to get to stuff. And Papa and Granny had him, and I just like it, and you can put stuff in it, so I'll definitely take that with me and put it somewhere. This is from the 5th grade. When Katie and I were in the 5th grade, our teacher, Mr. Sellers, shout out to Mr. Sellers if you're watching this video, had us read Where the Red Fern Grows. Such a good book, but so sad. And the dogs in the book were called Dan and Ann, and in the story it talks about the boy carving that in a tree. And when we were in school and reading that book, we kind of made a wall of that and just showing what we had read about and that kind of stuff. And this was up on the wall, and at the end of it, I don't remember, it was like he got to pick someone. Maybe everyone's names were put in a hat for who would get to keep this, and it ended up being me. So I have this many years later, and I just can't get rid of it. He was a great teacher, and that was a great story, and it makes me think fondly of all my elementary and grade school memories, so I just couldn't get rid of it. I have lots of journals that I have wrote in. This is not all of them. I seem to like to write a little bit and then buy a new journal, but I have lots of journals where I've wrote in them, and I'm so glad that I did that. A lot of it is kind of embarrassing high school drama stuff, not worth reading, but it's still even fun to look back at that. But there's a lot of stories that I wrote about Pap and Granny, and I'm so glad that I have that, and I love looking back at that. So I'm going to read you one, and it looks like I entitled it Trash at Paradise. So it's got an interesting name there. So it says, a couple of weeks ago, about mid-March, we were on the way to school. Now recently they have cut the trees on the bank down by Paradise. And so when I say Paradise, there's just kind of a road name, a little place where we live called Paradise. And it's on the way to town. It's not super close to us, but the road name is Paradise. And so people will kind of around here casually mention, oh, you know, down there at Paradise, because it's a road that goes down by the river, and there's some houses there. So it says, this trash stayed there for a couple of days. Now, my mother and grandmother go to the grocery store every Sunday morning, early. And when I said early, I've got that in all caps with an exclamation point. So one of the next mornings, going to school, we passed the trash, and Mom and I started talking about it. She was telling me about when her and Granny passed it on the way to the grocery store. She said when Granny seen it, she said, my Lord, well, I wouldn't throw that trash out, but somebody has to so they can pay people to pick it up. If anybody could make trash on the side of the road funny, it would be her. Granny definitely has said some pretty funny things like that over the years, and I'm pretty glad that I've wrote a lot of it down in some of these journals. In this little notebook, I kind of just wrote lots of different stuff. And I was pretty good about leaving the date on things. So this is in 2012, and it says, songs Paul and Pat like and talk about on Pickin' Sunday. So on Sundays we would play music, and I wanted to write down some of the songs that they liked. Garden in the Sky by Reno and Smiley. Someone Will Love Me in Heaven, Reno and Smiley. Will There Be Sweethearts in Heaven, Reno and Smiley. I guess they liked Reno and Smiley a lot. There's just different stuff in here and different stories, and I'm glad that I have it down. This one's interesting. This is a story where it says I went to Pap and Granny's, and she was talking about Gene Watson. Of course, if you've been on the channel any length of time, one of the last videos we did was a Gene Watson song named Carmen, and we really love him. And I remember her telling me this in the past, but I didn't realize I had wrote it down. She said her favorite Gene Watson song was Farewell Party. That's a really good song, of course, one of his most popular ones. And I remember she told me about her and Paul getting to go see Gene Watson, that they packed sandwiches and they went and seen him and sat on the grass and ate while they watched him sing. This is a drawing. It says, me drawing with my foot, trying to write my name. That was in 2012. I'm not sure why I was doing that, but I was. That's funny. And then I've got lots of tunes like this wrote down from when we took Dance Musicians Week. I've got just chords and the names of tunes wrote down. I've got all kinds of stuff in this. Comment below and let me know if you've kept any journals over the years. This is a little pamphlet from Ghost Town in the Sky. This was in Maggie Valley. I think we have some viewers from Maggie Valley, Haywood County, Waynesville area. Comment below if you are, but we loved going to Ghost Town in the Sky. As of now, at least to my knowledge, it's not open any longer because there was, I think, maybe some dangerous things going on. But I remember when we went, you know, it says Ghost Town in the Sky because it's up on a mountain, and we rode this totally sketch bus to get up there. And on the way down, Mom and Dad were like, that bus was so sketch, we're not doing that. We're going to take the chairlift down. And that was terrifying. That was not super fun. I learned that I may be afraid of heights on that trip. Here you can get a closer look at the pamphlet here. That was the chairlift that we had to go down, and that was honestly horrifying. Not super fun, that part. But it was so fun getting to be there that day. And the view is spectacular, as you can see. And they had all kinds of rides and stuff. And it's funny because, honestly, I hate rides. Rides are not super fun for me because I get motion sick really easy. Haha, that's pretty neat. That's where that guy has signed that. I had a vague memory of getting these signed, but I didn't remember where it was signed in the book. Ha! Look, isn't that funny? Me and Katie thought those guys were so cool. We were in our young teens, maybe even 12 or 13, and I remember thinking that those guys were cute. This is kind of random, but this is a pocket reference book that Dad had, and I don't know why he had it or where he got it, but me and Katie as kids would fight over this. We just like to look in it and look at all the different stuff because it's got so many different little, like, diagrams and charts and writing in it, and we were just obsessed with it. And then one of us, as you can see, spilled red, I guess Kool-Aid or Gatorade or something on it. That was probably me. I have no idea how I've kept up with it all these years or even why, but I've still got it. Just makes me think of being a kid somehow looking at it. I've got a few things in my hand here, like old IDs and some stickers and even an autograph. So I definitely want to give you an up-close look at that. This is when we volunteered in high school at the local hospital, and I remember rolling silverware. I just kind of liked that picture of myself. This is my college student ID. Gosh, that don't even look like me. And then I have these. Comment below if you had Garbage Pail Kids stickers. These were the best growing up, getting at the grocery store. They're just so funny. This is like one of my favorite ones. Ron Zombie. Decomposes in 9 minutes. That's hilarious. Y'all, detergent for hillbillies. Homemade out behind the barn. Get your monthly wash done. That's hilarious. Fruit Oops. Follow your nose to the emergency room. Sometimes these were like straight up morbid. Honestly. This was one of my favorite ones too. Pizza Hat. You'll wear the stuff we're made of. They're just silly. Grad, cap and gown. Oh my gosh. Graduation meets sanitation. That's hilarious. And then, this is my John Conley autograph. There's a picture of Katie and I with John Conley somewhere. But that was pretty neat. We got to see him locally, and that was really cool to get his autograph. Fun story, we actually helped him load his bus when he was leaving. It was a pretty small thing, and of course he got back on the bus, but the band and everything else, Dad actually worked at Tri-County at the college at that time. Mom did too, where this was at, and we helped him load his bus. When Katie and I were kids, but I don't really feel like we had too many toys. We really liked being outside, and we had a lot of stuffed animals, and we had some Barbies, not tons of Barbies, but these are kind of 3 things that somehow I kept up with. These are my Pocahontas little action figures. I have no idea where these come from. Maybe McDonald's when you would get them in a Happy Meal, I'm not sure. And then this was like my favorite outfit to put on this little Barbie that I had. And this actually used to be long sleeve, but at some point I wanted it to be short sleeve, and so I just cut the sleeves off. That's so silly. This is a book that I remember Granny reading to Katie and I when we were little kids and we were down at her house. It's funny, on the inside it says Paul Wilson, so I guess it was his book first and probably got left behind. But this is just the sweetest little book, and it has the sweetest pictures in it. They're just cute. I remember her reading to us out of this book. I'm surprised that I still have it. We cannot mention childhood without mentioning this buckle. I do not remember who got this for me, but I wore this thing a ton. This right here is very interesting. This is a warrant for my arrest. As you can see, it was part of a school project, and it was for tearing the tags off a pillow that clearly said not to. I remember that you had to have your parents sign a note saying that you could even participate in this, because they weren't going to tell you who they were going to arrest. They wanted it to be a surprise, but we all knew it was going to happen. And I specifically decided that I did not want to have this happen to me because I would be embarrassed. But Katie, however, did, want her name to be in the drawing because she thought it would be funny, and so I guess they kind of mixed us up. So imagine my surprise that day in class, when here comes the officer in, and we all know he's going to pick someone to arrest. They picked 2 people, and one of them was me, and I was like, no, this is not what I wanted. And they put the handcuffs on, and it was just a joke, but it was a good learning experience to kind of teach us about the justice system. But I still have that, and I just think that's hilarious. As I said, I have so many cards that I have kept up with through the years. I have tons of them, but these 2, I remember these from basically as far back as my memory goes. That's got a cute little Barbie on it. That was from Pap and Granny in 2003, so I was pretty young because I was born in 96. That's one of my, really, if I had to say, my all-time favorite card. And then there's this one. Also from Pap and Granny, and it says Happy Birthday in her really hard to read writing. This is pretty neat. This was my great-grandpa's. This was Miss Cindy's dad's, and it says CM because his name was Curtis Meese. And it's a little holder that held paper. You could put notes in there, and I guess you could put anything else in there that you wanted to put in there. I used to have the notebook that went in it, but then I filled it up, and I'm sure I could probably get online and find another little notebook that would fit this, but I just always kept it as it is. It says John Hancock Mutual Life Insurance Company, Boston, Massachusetts. A few more things I want to show you. This is a jar of unopened snuff. This is what Pap dipped when I was a kid. Later on in life, he didn't dip at all. But I remember him dipping this as a kid, and I remember exactly what this powder smells like. And when he passed away and we were going through some of his stuff, we found some of these that were unopened. So I just have it still sealed and just couldn't make myself get rid of it. The other thing here in my hand is a quote. This is a quote I found somewhere a long time ago, and I printed it out, and it says, I shall pass through this world but once. Any good, therefore, I can do, or any kindness I can show to any human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer or neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. And this was by Stephen Grellett, 1773 to 1865. I don't know where this came from, but I love this quote, and I've just always kept it. This is a picture of a very young Katie and I. We were probably 12 or 13 there, maybe 13, 14. And I remember that was at the drum circle in Asheville. And Katie and I were actually just talking about this The drum circle in Asheville is not necessarily a place that we went very often. We only went once when Dad's mom still lived out there. She just wanted to kind of take us and let us see what it was like. And there was lots of people. Of course, people were drumming there. And there was this lady who come up to Katie and I remember she was this really young, sweet young lady. She was maybe 20 max. But at the time, you know, she seemed a lot older than us. And I remember she come up and she looked at me and she said, "You are so pretty." She kind of took me by the arms and said, "You're so pretty." And I never forgot that. I thought that was so kind of her. And being 14 years old and having braces, you can't see it in this picture, I didn't feel particularly pretty. So that was very sweet of her to comment that. And I didn't realize that I had this picture until I was going through stuff and I found it. And I'm glad that I have it and held on to it. This little thing here has all kinds of random stuff in it. Most of it is just change. Like some of it I think is from different countries and some of it's I guess from America as well. Oh, I even see a tooth. Wow, that's kind of sketch. Definitely got some weird things in here, but it's just a little pouch that I've held on to for years. This used to be an earring. You can tell where the posts come out of the back. And I remember when I was a kid, I found this on the school bus. It was one of the activity buses that the county shared. And it had sticky candy stuck to it. But I put it in my pocket because I liked the way it looked. And I brought it home. And Dad got the candy off and cut off the post. And I've just always held on to it. There's all kinds of coins. And I won't show them all to you. But I don't really think that's a coin. I'm not really sure what that is. This one I remember because I found it somewhere on the ground. Let's see what it says. Oak Ridge. This one is from Canada. I remember I had a friend who went to Canada who brought that back. Of course, that's just a regular one there. And then I don't know what that is either, really. 10 euro cent. I guess it's European money. And then I have some flattened pennies that we put on the railroad track and went back for. That was fun. If you've never done that, you got to do that. This is a handful of some very random things, but all of it I can remember having when I was a young kid, and all of it is sentimental to me somehow. This was a magnet that Mom made for my locker in middle school. The first locker I ever had, and that hung in my locker until I left middle school. This, as you can see, if you move it back and forth, the cars move kind of down the track there. Dad gave this to me as a kid, and Katie and I fought over it all the time. We just thought it was so cool. This, believe it or not, is a ball of mud that has been sealed, I guess, with some kind of glue, and I put my initial in it. And these are just little berets that used to be in Katie and I's hair when we were little girls. There's a whole handful of these somewhere. This was my very first pocket knife, and I remember losing this knife in my grandma's yard, and my uncle went out there, honestly, months later, and when he stepped, he heard something kind of strange, and he stepped on it, and it was practically buried. I have no idea what I was doing, but there's no telling since I was a kid. This is just a random dice, but I remember when Dad used to work out of town, he brought Katie and I back each one of these, and I just thought it was sweet. And these are some arrowheads that I found. I've found several more, but the funny thing is every one I have ever found has been in water. I've never found one that was just on the ground. It's always been in a creek or a lake. This one come out of a creek, and I thought it was like fake at first because it's like so big, and you know, the shape of it is kind of so pronounced, if that makes sense. I think these were found in the same place. Those are always fun to find. Last but not least is this box. Katie has one like it somewhere, and they put our kind of nicknames on them. Chitter and Chatter are the nicknames that Mom gave us when she started her blog, because when we were young, she didn't want to kind of disclose our names on there. And this box is probably one of my favorite things that I have. I remember getting this for Christmas one year, or it might have been a birthday, but I want to say it was Christmas. And it's an old Transformer box, and you see the latches there, and it's really neat. On the inside of the box, it kind of tells what's in it. And then it has these really neat compartments in there. You can tell I've stored stuff in there over the years because they look a little dirty. And on top of those compartments sits this little piece. And it comes in and out. Probably one of my most favorite things. I hope you enjoyed this video and getting to see a glimpse into some of the treasures that I've found over the years. I've discovered that I have a lot of stuff, and I suppose most people do, but there's so many things like this that I've showed you today that I just can't let go of and I can't get rid of. And I guess that, now that I'm getting married in just a day or two, all of that somehow seems more important, you know, wanting to hold on to that chapter as I kind of begin a new chapter. But as always, thank you for watching. Look out for the next video. Katie and I are going to be talking about some childhood stories, and then after that will be the wedding, and we're going to try to get as much video as we can. It'll take me some time to put that video together. Until then, God bless each and every one of you, and we will catch you at the next video.